first thing to note is you guys are going to be entrepreneurs. You should start promoting yourself, having your contact details available all the time. If anybody has questions throughout the presentation, feel free to ask me questions anytime you want. If you have questions after today, great. You can send me an email. My contact details are here. We will be meeting next Tuesday. And I have more than enough information to talk about. I can talk for days about this information. The specific idea of what is a business plan, here's a book talking about just the formulas that you can use and the mathematics and statistics and details about it. I think junk. There are hundreds, thousands of books about how to start a business, entrepreneurship, business planning. I teach this at Yonsei University. I've taught it at several universities. I think this is the best book that you can use. There are several copies of this, several versions of this. If you have questions related to it, you can talk to me. Specifically, what I will be going through is an actual business plan. This book has 2 business plans that are very, very good, very realistic, that you could probably use in Seoul. It's 4 business plans for in the North American market, but they would probably work here as well, with small adaptations. As I do teach this in many different areas to people just like yourselves and to regular university students, undergraduate and graduate students. I just finished, actually I'm still not even finished going through evaluating my students' business plans. I've had over 150 students this last semester, everybody giving business plans. So there's quite a bit of information I can show you. Here are some of my students' business plans, if you really want to get into questions and details. You can take some of this, you can start passing it around if you want. You can look through it during the break if you want. Next week on Tuesday, I hope you guys can do most of the talking. I hope you guys will be able to use a little bit of time. You should be able to present your business in 30 seconds. Called an elevator ad or executive summary or a 30-second spiel. You should be able to present your business plan in 30 seconds, but of course it will be difficult for you to do that, so we will take 2 or 3 minutes per person to present the executive summary of your business plan to everybody and hopefully have some feedback about how to improve it. So, thank you very much. With that said, I should get right into the details, but I want to calm you. I'm not just a professor. I'm not just a boring brainiac that reads all the time and doesn't know anything about the real world. I was one of the first guys like you to start a solely foreign-owned business in the country. I actually started a business in Korea when it was technically illegal to start it. I actually had to forge documents to start my company here because immigration said they will give me immigration approval to stay here as soon as I got health approval. Health approval said they will give me health approval as soon as I give them immigration approval. So it was technically illegal to start a business. I actually had to have the sheets all messed up and say it was signed and then go back after I got both people to sign it, and then I had to go back and take away the bad copies and get them to do it again. And since then, it has become a lot easier. That's one lesson. I'm not teaching you to do illegal things, of course. What I'm teaching you is to be an entrepreneur, you have to think outside the box. To be an entrepreneur, you might not need somebody standing here. You should be able to find all answers on your own. That is what an entrepreneur is. An entrepreneur is somebody that can find solutions to things that other people don't see. They move resources around. They see that this would help you, what you have would help her, so I just move it back and forth and help people. That's what an entrepreneur is. That's what entrepreneurship is. So I have started businesses before and helped many companies expand. You're not too interested in those details. I'm going to get right into the basics. This is a business plan. This is a very good business plan. This is what I think you guys should try to focus on presenting to everybody next week, Tuesday. In general, you can see this is, index is not important. A business plan is question and answers for about 100 reasonable issues related to your business. As soon as you can answer 100 to 150 questions that are the reasonable questions, start. That means that you will never have all answers. Don't expect to. But start thinking of what are the main questions that anybody can ask. As soon as you have those answers and you're comfortable with them, start your business. The biggest problem is many of you might have been studying so long or checking into whatever your dream is to start that you're an expert in it. And the problem is you forget nobody else is that same expert. You forget that a lot of other people don't care about you, but they don't care about your business. So a big problem with business plans is people make them only for what's in their mind, not for reality. For example, you study selling this so much that you know the mineral composition in here. And so you start talking about the mineral composition in here. But you probably don't know how to say those words that are the minerals and don't care about them. So you're not going to buy, even though they're thirsty. You don't even know that I'm selling water when I'm talking about minerals. So a lot of the business people forget the basics. So start with the basics. My business, the Daily Perk, is a specialty beverage retailer. That automatically tells people what you're doing. And then it talks about the type of the product or the service, exactly what it is, because other people don't know. So make sure you start with the absolute basics. And then of course you go through a lot of the details, but you also get into the financial, the nitty-gritty. The Daily Perk, the business anticipates initial combination of investments, investors, and long-term financing, borrowing money, of $515,000 to carry it without the need for any additional money beyond the purchase of equipment and facilities, generally forever. So it's going to need this much money to start. This will mean growing slower than competitors or otherwise, but it means solid financial growth based on customer requests and product demand. Getting more into it, it starts, again, this is just the first page of one of the business plans in this book, and it's basically the main things that you guys should be focusing on. It also talks about the balance sheet estimates a net worth of $1.7 million for the third year, cash balances of $1 million, and earnings of $1.2 million based on 13 drive-thrus and 4 mobile cafes. Again, it's saying in the third year. So the financials are there. And you know that you need an investor to start. You know what the profit's going to be. You know what the product is. You know your business. A lot of people forget that, and they just get caught up in the small details. So that's the biggest thing finished. Hopefully you will be able to elaborate on not only what is your business and what is your main product or service, but elaborate after that has been done on what is going to pull customers away from your competitors. A lot of entrepreneurs think, I have a new idea. Well, statistics show most businesses are not new. It's just changed a color or changed a shape of something else that's out there. So there probably are a lot of competitors doing the same thing around. So think in your business plan how you're going, who those competitors are, and how you're actually going to pull customers away from them to you. And answer 100 to 150 of those questions, and you should be ready to start. Next page, it does the same thing. It's reasonable, it's saying sales, gross margin, net profit. Profit here, it's being realistic. Don't live in la la land. You might have been falling in love with starting your business for the last 10 years. And a lot of people, especially in Korea, they think, oh, here's a great idea, and I'm going to do it at Sicheong, in City Hall, or at Seoul Station, or somewhere where there's millions of people walking by every day, so I'm going to make $1 million immediately. But this is more realistic. You will not make profit immediately. Maybe some people know of you, but no, most people do not. And it takes time to make profit. It takes time to tell people you are a business. You could probably tell a couple hundred people in one day, but you should be happy if 10% of them care. And then you should be happy if 10% of those might start talking about it, and then maybe a small fraction of them might tell 1 or 2 other people. So it takes a long time for your promotions, your marketing, to be effective. So underestimate what your earnings are going to be and overestimate the time it's going to take to start and get good sales. Plan for that and work backwards. Of course, most business plans that are good would plan for 3 years in advance. And some people, I'm surprised nobody's asking questions yet. Many people in the past, they say, well, how can I find out what my sales are going to be in the future? I don't want to worry about 3 years from today, so this is 2015, telling me what my sales are going to be? That's baloney. It's not true. So why waste my time doing that? Well, the reason you waste your time is you should be thinking of the details. For example, if you're selling this water, it's not going to be hard to find out what your cost of that water is. Even though you might pay $1 for this water, or chun for 1,000 won for this water, you can go to a competitor that's selling this, sit down in their business, and see how many customers are buying it. Right there, automatically, you can find out how many customers per hour, times it by the number of hours you're going to work in a day, or the number of days you're going to work in a year, times it by the number of days you'll work all year, and you can calculate how much sales you might be able to have if you're better than that place. And when you start, you might not be, because you don't have the marketing that is as valuable as they are. But then, what about the costs? See, I don't know how much my costs are going to be. Well, while you're sitting in that other business, and there are competitors generally around, you should be able to find out the suppliers. The suppliers are going to come in and drop off the supplies in the back door. When the suppliers are coming in, you can take their name card. They will be happy to give you a price list. So you'll know what your costs are, and you'll know what your supplies and your sales are going to be immediately. So that type of information, it shouldn't be too difficult to find. There are obviously going to be businesses that are going to be hard to find information, but an entrepreneur should be able to figure out these details. Objectives, blah, 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 keys to success, who cares? Company ownership, that's important. I need to definitely talk about. Limited liability corporation is one possibility. So making a corporation, the alternative is a partnership, or the last alternative, which I highly, highly suggest all of you do. So what I suggest is best is start your own business in your name, a sole proprietorship. You do it solely alone. Why? Because money changes almost everybody, and greed makes a lot of problems. As soon as you have a partner, when you're starting, it makes it easier. You get more money, you get more ideas, you get more hands to help doing the work. But eventually, 6 months, 1 year, 3 years down the road, somebody's going to be saying, well, you're not working as hard as me, so I should get more money, or something like that. And arguments are going to start. So if you are the own boss, nobody can really argue with you. So I suggest start thinking of the sole proprietorship. What it does say here is the details. Startup summary, you should be able to think of all of these things. And like I say, it's almost the same idea here, even though this is based on a Seattle, United States type of business, setting up a restaurant, selling the same type of thing, water. Your startup expenses are almost the same. Legal costs. For you to incorporate a business, I would not be surprised if you have to pay $3,000 to a law firm to incorporate. That's reasonable. And you will probably have legal experts telling you some things like that. I teach law at Yonsei University. I don't have a law practice, so I have no problem telling you, I suggest you don't incorporate and you don't use a law firm to do that. But if you are going to incorporate, you need some sort of lawyer's protection, so you can do all of the paperwork yourself, fill out everything like this, and then go to them, and a lot of the lawyers will just simply sign, and rather than sending $3,000, you can get somebody to sign it for $40. And you'd have the legal protection also. Office equipment, all of these things are general, they're pretty accurate. Make sure that you're aware of the startup details.
Sean?
Yes?
What would be a typical legal protection that you would want when you do a startup? Do you guys like free?
Sure. Whenever I teach this at the schools with undergraduate students or graduate students, I tell them, let's make hypothetical businesses to start with to test if we're going to have problems. Some students usually get really, really excited and go out and invest, or some students actually start a business. This year, the same thing. Some students went out and started a language school. And they ended up getting sued, or there was the competitors at a coffee shop. It was a coffee shop that was teaching English at the same time. And there's other coffee shops nearby and other language schools nearby that saw their English teachers working there in advertisements and saying, you're not allowed to be teaching there, you have a visa only to work for me, that's illegal. So they tried suing them. And so if you have a lawyer check your business plan, your lawyer would identify that legally you're allowed to have one employer working under one roof, for example. And a lawyer would be able to identify to you that coffee shop, food sales, or drink sales business is not an educational sales business, and generally in Korea they're not mixed. So you're allowed to have one or the other. I started a business that was based on that same idea. I started as a consultant for about 20 years. I've been helping companies set up new offices throughout Asia and North America. My first client in Korea, not the first client, one of the clients in Korea, he wanted to copy Starbucks in 2005. Starbucks was one of the fastest growing, most profitable businesses in Korea, and it's still doing very well. So he hired me to find out how to copy that and expand. I ended up identifying that it's a good business in Korea, yes. We have lots of statistics. Here is some of the market statistics that you can take a look at. A lot of these market statistics are available from the government. I'll be talking about that later. You need a lot of the market analysis. Like who are the main players? What are the sales that people are getting nowadays? But we also found in Korea that English was a hot topic. So if you could have an English Starbucks, it would be even better. More people would come. And then of course, in Korea, we knew that soju was important. So add some sort of alcohol, and alcohol with English, and the Starbucks, it's going to be a gold mine. So I opened, basically it was a foreign-run pub that had these foreign waiters and stuff like that working there. And it did work. However, legally, I was not allowed to take money for a teacher to teach English or Spanish or anything else. What we could do as an entrepreneur is, you want to buy nachos? Fine. Your nachos are $3, but your nachos are special. They're $20 because they're the house special. And the chef will come out and serve them to you, period. There's no guarantee on how long the chef will serve them to you for. Maybe it's an half an hour or an hour while he's serving. That's why it's $20. So that way is one way to overcome it. And for example, this students company, we were able to tell them that since they are focused on being a coffee shop, and they didn't actually pay these foreign teachers to teach there, they just gave them free coffees, they weren't employees. They're just customers, VIP customers getting discounts. And so they're not employees, so it's not illegal. That's an example of, that's a couple of examples how a lawyer should be able to help. In general, I might be able to guess you're from North America. North America is a very, very litigious society. Everybody sues everybody in North America, if I exaggerate a little bit.
Yay.
Maybe you're a lawyer, I don't know. I should probably ask what everybody wants to do, but I'll find that out next week. In Korea, generally they sue much, much less. So your costs for legal details and legal insurance and general insurance, I think should be much lower than businesses starting in North America. Because you don't need as much insurance, in my opinion. For example, starting the bar, you worry about somebody getting drunk and falling downstairs or dying. But when I did the research and checked with other lawyers, in the 3 years prior to when I started the bar, only one case in Seoul had ever had a situation where there was a court case related to a bar and somebody getting sued. And it was not because of regular things. It was because a VIP, almost a staff worker, he was a worker there, and he was a drunk, and he always got drunk, and he always came home, and his wife was always complaining that he was always getting drunk, and he was always coming home late, and he was always falling down the stairs, and so the wife sued. It was just because the wife basically hated the guy, and the wife's husband died falling down the stairs. It generally wasn't related to business legal details. What else? Make sure you know the market analysis. A lot of people think you know your business. What is the politically correct way to say you're full of shit? Most people might have a good idea in your brain, but that doesn't mean anything, especially with people here. Because I understand this is a group of people that are generally non-Koreans, international people hoping to set up a business here. So your ideas generally automatically have problems because your culture is not Korean culture. And what you think is good, what your mom and dad taught you is good, is very, very different than what your moms and dads in Korea say. I know my mom always told me to study, 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 but nothing like the Korean kids here. If my mom thought I was going to study 365 days, 20 hours a day to get into university, it just doesn't happen. So what's good and bad, in your opinion, is very different than what's good and bad in the local market, so your customers are different. Survey them. Find the facts, find the details, make sure what you think is correct. Like, you think the customers care about the mineral composition? Survey people. Ask. When you buy drinks, what do you buy the most? If you buy water, what type of water do you buy? Don't lead them in certain areas. Don't say, you always buy water, but do you buy Evian? Because that is a question that pushes people to answer things in a certain way. And especially in Korea, where they avoid uncertainty and they're supposed to be focused on harmony, they won't want to disagree, and even more so in Japan. So regardless of the truth of the answer, they're probably going to agree with you just to get you to shut up and move on. So make sure you do survey people, but remember to really get their mind, not your mind. I can fly through the rest of this. You should know who exactly your customer is. You could sell water to everybody, but you should know, although there's 100% customers, follow the Italian rule, the Pareto's law, Alfredo Pareto. He found an 80-20 rule. 80% of the results come from 20% of the efforts. 80% of your business revenue will come from 20% of your customers. 80% of your headaches will come from 20% of your customers. 80-20 is very, very important. So focus, although there's 100% of customers, find that 20% that will give you the most business and the best business. And make sure you specialize in them, have a competitive advantage, and keep them very, very happy. So know your target market very, very well, and be very, very specific as you can, and develop an expertise for them. And then, of course, know the industry analysis. What's happening in the industry? What's going on with the competition and the buying patterns and the environment? Details about a bunch of different things. Even though you're supposed to have very, very special target market, and you're supposed to have very specific customers, I don't know of very many other people that say what I'm about to say. Everybody in the books always agree, develop a competitive edge, develop an expertise, be the best at one thing is most popular. But I will also say something to screw you up. Develop a safety net. For example, the bar that I opened, yes, it was selling booze. But our safety net was teaching English. And we had extra money from that coming in. And a bar business is generally 4 o'clock to 4 a.m., for example. But we had some other business that would be in the morning time. For example, if you wanted to start some sort of French restaurant here, maybe you can teach French dancing or French language or something like that. Having clubs, doing something in the morning, or just rent out your space in the morning. Have that extra income coming in definitely helps the small businesses. With that said, the bigger you start, with the more investment you start, generally that requires you, it forces you to have a more serious business plan, not longer business plan, just more serious business plan. But the bigger your investment and the more serious you start, the more successful most people are. And if you are going to start seriously, you should be focusing on just that one area. But for 100 million won that most of you are considering, and if you need to consider less than 100 million won, you can talk to me during the break when the microphone's not on. If you want to talk about over that, there's a lot of sources of funding and areas to get information. Be cognizant of your safety net and expertise. Sorry, you had a question?
Yeah, you were saying that we were able to do market analysis with the government. Would that be enough? I mean, I I don't think, for me personally, I'm not going to go around and ask and waste my time and resources getting that much information about market analysis. But would that be enough, or and where can we get that?
Okay, I will talk about that in the presentation. This is an example. Please pass it around to everybody afterwards.
Okay.
If anybody wants, there's files here that I can give to everybody. This is made by almost every government in the world. They have salesmen, saleswomen, salespeople for you in almost all major cities in the world. Those sales offices that all of you have working for you are called embassies or consulates. All of you have hopefully paid taxes in your past. That taxes, most people complain about and think are wasted, but they go to hiring salespeople to work in these embassies for you guys to help you start businesses that hopefully bring money back to your country. And so, for example, if anybody's Canadian here, like I am, you'll probably know that the Canadian embassy is almost never open to any tourists. It's almost never open if you have family issues. It's almost never open if you want a passport stamp, except I think 3 a.m. on a Thursday morning for 10 minutes or something. I'm exaggerating for the video. But the rest of the week, for 1,000,000 hours, it's open to discuss businesses and this type of information. They will tell you how much money is made here, who is making it now, who your competitors are, who your customers are, the customer trends, the customer requirements, where you might want to set up, who you might want to partner with, and who are the experts to provide more information. That's worth thousands and thousands of dollars. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. You've already paid for it in your tax dollars. We are here now with the exact same thing. Seoul Global Center is the exact same thing. The government has taken the tax money of the businesses that are successful and encourages more people. The governments grow and live off of new business development and you guys hiring people and your tax money. So that's why this is free. I'm not actually free. Seoul Global Center is paying me a lot of money, as he just gave me the receipt. You might have noticed that. They pay a lot of money to help you guys start. And so they're very serious with this information. This is made, the report that is from is very easily from the American Embassy or the Canadian Embassy, and the Seoul Global Center provides a lot of information too. Get it from the experts, and have mentors, and have advisors. Everybody here should have everybody else's email address and phone numbers. Maybe you're working with your water business, and maybe you're working with a hotel business. Maybe you think it's completely different. But the whole idea of how to register a business, you have the same issues. So stay in touch. I've been teaching this with the exact same room for years now. And as soon as I finish teaching, as soon as your week is finished, a lot of you end up calling me saying, oh, I want more information about this. And it's the same question. You would call, and the same question that she will ask, and she will ask, and she will ask. So stay in touch with each other, because you guys will help each other. And I will help you guys for free if you guys are staying in groups. The more international Seoul becomes, the easier my life becomes too. I'm going to fly through this. Stop me if you think anything's interesting. I believe you guys already have this. You can read it on your own. I'm not going to waste too much time and get into more details. Again, it's talking.
Can I have bigger copies for this?
Sure. Email me. My email's at the front. And like an entrepreneur, your email should be almost everywhere anybody needs it, and I can email this to you. Personnel plan. You've been talking about personnel. Personnel is the most important part of most businesses. It generally is not, most people don't buy a product for the product. Most people generally don't care about the quality of the product. A lot of people will be going and doing their regular businesses because of a relationship somehow, and especially in East Asia, Korea, Japan, China. Relationships will make you or break you. You need to have partners. You need, not partners, like business legal details. I mean friends and helpers, mentors, professors, advisors, somebody that's going to help you with these details. And it's so important. Your network of staff is probably the most important thing. And they don't work just for money. The best people that I've ever worked with, no matter what the job was, the best people didn't care the most about money. For example, with the bar, the best bartender, best bar manager I ever had, he didn't care about money at all, as long as he could get all the free drinks, and anytime he had a cute girl coming into the bar, he could take off half an hour. If that was okay, he was happy and he'd stay for years. And he was really, really good. When I'd interview him and he'd say that. He didn't say it directly. I had to dig to find that information. But the next person, I asked them, what motivates you? And he said, money. I want $10 million a month salary. And then I can promise you the world. When this guy was much better, and he didn't, I asked him, I made him say a number to me that would keep him happy. He said, I don't know, $1,000,000? So the best guy I got was $1,000,000 a month, and was 10 times better than this other guy. So remember, the people working with you or for you are the most important. And everybody's different, so know what those differences are. Again, I'm going to just jump through these because you guys can read these details. You definitely have to get into the nitty-gritty. Here's some sales forecasts, personnel plan, and it's all realistic. For example, when you start a lot of these businesses, you're going to be doing construction and design and training and decoration, so you're not going to really have any business at the beginning. And only after a little while you'll be able to have people working for you. And then it's eventually going to be growing. Same thing, you might only want to have a bookkeeper after you've started the business, and then they can start being efficient. So all of these numbers are still pretty accurate. This example is a pretty good example to copy and take a look at. Of course, your income statement, your profit and loss details. Make sure you know exactly what your net profit's going to be. Your sales, this is the cash flow. Cash flow is obviously very, very important. A lot of businesses I've seen, unfortunately, scary stories. They just think because there's sometimes 30 million people going in and out of Seoul each day, and some cities you feel like there's 30 million people walking in that sidewalk every day. Some people that might start a business there think they're going to have automatic that many customers. Well, that's fantasy land. When I started one business, I was watching the business grow for several years, and there was one week that was very, very special because right across the street, a similar type of business started. And the very first day I definitely noticed it because before that there was lots of construction. The day they started, they had a whole bunch of beautiful flowers and beautiful guys and girls in their mini skirts and tank tops saying, come on in, big brother, big sister. They went out of business in 1 week. Actually, it was 10 days. They spent $1 million on the design and startup and closed in 10 days. Don't do that. Make sure you plan for slow growth. At the same time, plan safety nets so you can have good income, especially nowadays with being in the most wired country in the world. You should be able to outsource a lot of jobs. Get somebody in another country to possibly do it, or get somebody in rural areas to work for you. In Seoul, for example, teaching English, people generally charge 40,000, 50,000, sometimes $100,000 won per hour to teach English. When you can find people from England or Canada in remote parts of Korea that will do it maybe for 10 bucks an hour. And if you can use this stuff, if everybody's walking around with their smartphones and internet and Skype, there's no reason why you can't get the teachers to do that. So think about that and make sure that you plan for slow growth in one way, but at the same time, plan to have as much income, smart income coming in as possible. This slide might be a little bit of confusion to some of you. As I said, I have been running this lecture for several years and the same type of information at universities for a long time. Universities in Korea, there's undergraduate students and graduate students. They're very different than where I grew up in Canada and in the United States. They generally just work, and it was only recently that they stopped thinking that they have to go to university, graduate, then get a job. People are starting to change that idea now, and they're starting to think that they have to get some sort of experience in their resume. But they don't know how to start. I started working, I have 4 children. My youngest is 2 years old. He's already making money as a model and promoting things, magazines and toys and stuff. So at 2 years old, he's got a job. I wasn't that good at business, but I started young too. In Korea, they have difficulty starting businesses. So I forced my university students, undergraduate and graduate, to go out and work with businesses. All of my students have to make the business plans. Last September, I taught a group, and there was a company that started up called Excess Commerce. That company, basically could be this lady, started the business. She talked to me because of this, and we worked together. So I found out about her business plan. I thought it was a good idea, so I got her to come in and give a lecture to my students. All of you are invited to lecture to my students, tell them what your business is, and say, I need help with marketing, I need help surveying, I need help translating, or I need help promotions, or contacting suppliers. My students have to work with you to get class credit and pass the class. So be able to understand that. Get help from other people, network with other people. More importantly, one of the reasons that might help you guys, not only is it free work, and Excess Commerce actually paid some of these students a little bit, but it's the idea of the business plan again. Next Tuesday, you're supposed to present your business in from 30 seconds to 3 minutes, tops. That's hard to do, especially when for the last 3 years, you have only been thinking about natation and details like that. So if you're only focused on this, you don't know how to find out what he wants to buy and why he wants to buy it. And you need to be able to get him sold in 30 seconds or 3 minutes. So what this is doing is saying, see short videos of other people that have done the same thing. Started a business or have promoted the beginning of their business, looking for other ideas or help or expansion. Here's an example of a distillery making drinks. It's appropriate to today. Now people are making the makgeolli, the rice wine, and the dongdongju with fruit juice in it. This is basically the exact same thing, and they're saying how they started. They're promoting it in 7 minutes. Take that video and you can show it to students. Or take that video and just keep it on YouTube, 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 YouTube. You guys need to know that we're living in the internet now. You have to be online. If you don't have Twitter and Facebook and YouTube, good luck. I think you're going to have a lot of problems if you don't use those, especially Twitter. I'm very grateful that I'm basically retired now and I don't need to do it because it takes a lot of energy. Being an entrepreneur, you generally start doing everything all on your own. And with a business plan, there's millions of things to think about. But I'm trying to remind you that you only need to think of the top 100 things and focus on them. Well, advertising is one of the biggest things. How are you going to advertise? You need the Facebook, you need the Twitter, you need the YouTube, because YouTube is almost the most popular thing that people go to nowadays, especially the kids, which are going to be the trendsetters. Here's a test question that all of you should know the answers to. What else is more important than Twitter or Facebook in Korea? All of you should know this. Sorry? Business cards, yes? Cyworld, yes. Cyworld is one of the answers I was looking for. What's one of the other answers I was looking for? Kakao. Kakao Talk is one way that so many people interact with each other. You must be able to start promoting yourself in these online ways. And yes, make sure you have name cards. And don't just use gotta love this video. I have to really watch my words because in Korea, legally, it is the strictest country in the world for defamation law. Defamation generally means making anybody look bad. So if I say, you're stupid, you could actually sue me and put me in jail for up to 7 years in Korea. Now, you want to, maybe you don't really care about that example. How about this? How about I take this huge machete and I chop her head off, and then I swing it at you and I cut your arm off, and you're panicking and you're running out of here saying, run for your life, there's a crazy guy in here. I can sue her for making me look bad. Even though I killed somebody and I wounded her. She said, I'm crazy, that hurts my image. Technically, in Korea, she is guilty and she faces a maximum punishment of 7 years in jail. Yes. So do not say your competitors are bad. Look at the bright side all of the time. Why I'm talking about that is because I wanted to say an example of one company that's doing a bad example and something, but I have to keep watching my words. Don't insult anybody in Korea. So the information, your question, that with, I believe there's information going around the room. There's a lot of information I can show like that. Here are places to get more information. This is where we're at, Seoul Global Center, the 3rd floor if you're not aware of it. Global Seoul, Hi Korea, Invest Korea has a lot more information. They provide all of this information. Of course, counseling and consulting services. Inside here, they will talk about the investment details, financial consulting, immigration details, the tax accountants. You can get a tax accountant for free here for an hour, telling you these details. Same thing with lawyers. Lawyers will work for you for free here. But remember, almost everybody in the world is human and has a tendency to maybe want to be lazy. And so some people, if they can tell you something to get you to shut up and go away, they might. So understand that government officers have to help you, and if they don't, try to go to the manager or something. The people here are really, really good at doing it. A lot of times some of the embassies might not be so good, so when you start talking with somebody that should give you information, start by asking what is their name, and oh, nice to meet you, I was actually looking for your manager. What was your manager's name? As soon as you get that name, then you can start the conversation, and if they don't help, you can say, I'm going to complain to your manager, and that will usually get the government workers working. Of course, as you can see here, business startup classes, they do a lot of that. And there's some very valuable information. For example, here, in 2009, there were only about 260,000 non-Koreans in Seoul. So a lot of you might think, because I'm French, because I'm Jordanian or from Kenya, they don't have a Kenyan restaurant here, I'm going to start a Kenyan restaurant here. Don't forget these basic facts. Yes, you know it, and you love the idea. But there's only 260,000 other possible non-Koreans that might care. So, of that, 58% are working generally in factories, and 11% are the spouses of these people. So you have 70% of people are probably not going to be your customers automatically, and the rest of them, make sure you understand, the basic Seoul Global Center can give you these statistics. However, it is growing like crazy, 18% on average every year, the foreign community. It wasn't long ago that I gave a lecture here saying that I would love for some of you to open up a bakery, because I miss brownies. I know I can cook my own chocolate brownies. I'm just a lazy SOB. And somebody said, oh yeah, maybe I'll be doing it in my bakery. But now you can get brownies almost anywhere in Seoul, convenience stores. Seoul is growing incredibly fast. Seoul Global Center has these details. So let's talk about the basics. Some of you have read these details or heard of these. How many people have actually heard this? 90% of new businesses fail in the first year. Maybe you're being shy. Most people have heard it.
Restaurants.
Okay, most people might have heard that. Here's my next circular. Again, I've been working as a professor in Korea, and I've been working as a consultant for many years. I have been paid to give information to other people, so I give way too much information to try to make sure that you guys are comfortable. So there's 140 pages here. I'm just trying to make it digestible. It's summarized. If you want to look at any of the facts, it's there. Page 53 is the one page you really want to see. This is made by the Canadian government, Ministry of Industry, very, very strict company, Statistics Canada, Canadian government-run organization. I would say very, very, very reliable. And they have tested all new businesses in Canada. It's pretty easy in Canada, because even my son has to pay taxes in Canada. He's 2 years old. So if the Canadian government knows everybody paying taxes, and generally if you start paying taxes, you should have a business registration number. So as soon as you have a business registration number in Canada, the Canadian government knows, and as soon as you stop your business, you have to take away your business number, otherwise you keep paying these taxes. They think you're hiding the money. So the business registration numbers are very accurate in Canada. So the Canadian, this report, I cannot think of any reason why it would be wrong. They have found everywhere in Canada, every business possible, the average is the opposite. almost 90% of new businesses that start are successful. There's, if any of you guys care, you can pass it around the room. Please keep one paper for everybody to take a look at. There's 20 copies here. Some of you, if you want, you can rip one off. It generally says, I'll be going to the next slide. It shows. Here, this is what that paper shows. No matter where you are, it's generally good. Finance and insurance related companies. Any of you that are going to be starting a finance consulting business or an insurance business, 89% of you, the chances are, your likelihood of success are 89.2%. And that's based off Canadian government hard statistics. If you want to be the most profitable, or sorry, the most successful in Canada, you should be a fisherman or a hunter. It might work in Korea, it might not, I don't know, but in Canada, it generally says, what is the highest? Fishing and trapping, 89.4%. But almost everything. The lowest percentage is 80% for other things. Other things I can explain, it explains it there. It's generally talking about restaurants. Why? Because restaurants are the easiest thing for people to think about. Everybody goes and sees restaurants all of the time. Everybody complains almost all of the time. Everybody can see a new way to make something better all of the time. But starting a finance or insurance, that sounds hard. And real estate, oh, that must be way too hard. I don't have enough money to start. A lot of these things, people are just afraid to start because it sounds difficult. But a restaurant seems very, very easy. Even the easiest thing, there's 80% chance of success. So congratulations for being here. As long as you're serious about it and you have done a business plan, the chances are from 80 to 89% of you are likely to, 89% of you are likely to succeed in your business. Here's another story. Maybe Canadians are too strict, maybe Canadians are too strange, I don't know. This was a study done by the London Business School and the Global Entrepreneurship Monitor, the biggest entrepreneurial organization studying startups everywhere in the world. They studied 42 different countries, 2,000 adults or businesses, each minimum, over 150,000 new startups studied. They showed 2/3 of new businesses survive at least 2 years. Half survive minimum 4 years. Of most of the businesses that stop, most of them stop for changing from a sole proprietorship business to a corporation. It's a new business. Most of them are successful. Congratulations for thinking about starting a business. I definitely encourage you to do it. It's the smartest thing I ever did. It was one of the hardest things I ever did too. Don't live in fantasy land. I remember when I was starting to think about starting my business here. I went around to the competitors trying to find information about how I could start my business to beat their business. Sounds like we're enemies, right? I walked in, I was going to start a bar. I walked into a place that you guys might know of still, 3 Alley Pub. And I sat down, I was drinking beer there, and I was seeing how many customers were coming in, and I was seeing what they were selling, and I was seeing the suppliers dropping off the supplies. Supplier gave me a name card, I got the costs already. And I asked the manager. First guy I talked to, he said, sorry, I can't talk to you, I'm too busy. But he introduced me to his partner, and the partner, Al, came out and he told me. He told me all of his costs, all of his profits, all of his staffing details and the headaches. It should not be very hard for you guys to get a lot of this information. Why I'm talking about it is that you can find almost all of the information, from 100 to 150 questions and answers. As soon as you can ask, what is your product? What is your business, number one? What is your product or service, number two? How are you going to get customers to come away from the competitors? What are the prices? What are the suppliers? All of those details. As soon as you can start answering these main things, start your business as soon as possible. Al at the 3 Alley Pub, I asked him what was his biggest memory in starting his business? Or what was his, my question was, do you have any special memories in the first year or 2 years of starting your business? And he said, yeah, I definitely remember there's 3 things. And what are those? Well, no, I remember 3 things. There's 3 days I remember. I don't remember any of the rest of the days. I was working so hard I was drunk for the rest of the 2 years starting a business. When you start your business, you will work super, super hard. It's easy for me to believe you will work 20 hours a day for at least 3 months, maybe 6 months. I did that many times when I was starting my businesses. I had several businesses, I still do. But the good news is, we're in Korea, the country where most people work more hours than anywhere else in the world, but 3 months after I started my business, I went through a bunch of idiot staff, but then I found good staff, and I trained good staff, and I had good staff working. Like I said, I had the one guy working for $1 million a month. That was very, very good. And I had to fire the guy before that was 5 million that was very bad. Anyway, the good guy was so good, I was always the consultant helping set up things. I had to go to China and India to help set up some other businesses. I planned to be gone for a few days. I ended up telling him that I'm only going to be gone for basically the weekend. I'll be back the beginning of next week. Okay, fine, fine, fine. I came back 3 weeks later. So basically I took a vacation for 3 weeks, and the business ran fine. And yeah, he swore at me and yelled at me, but the business continued to run. So after you work very hard to start your business, you will have other people hopefully helping you work it, and eventually you can develop a system. The best businesses I know of are systems that can work themselves. Make a business plan, I hope, that is a system. Because the alternative is you have to work. And the best part about entrepreneurship is you can start many of these businesses and get many other people working with you or for you. It's better to say with you, sharing, don't be greedy. And the money continues to roll in. It wasn't very long after that. The second year I had the business, I went away and I told them it was going to be at least 2 weeks. I came back 6 months later. And the business goes. So yes, it's hard to start, but it's definitely a very, very good thing to start your business. That's pretty clear. The rest of this is generally chit-chat. If you have things to talk about, we have another hour. I would like to get into real details. Maybe we can take a break in a little while. And after the break, I'd like you guys to start asking more questions, because you remind me of my students at Yonsei University and Sogang University that sit there and go writing notes when you're going to be much more effective as soon as you start promoting yourself, marketing yourself, asking real questions. I've helped hundreds of companies start. I can only help you if I know what you're interested in. So let's take a 5-minute break. After the break, I have lots more to talk about. I can talk for days, but I hope there's going to be more interaction with you. Any questions now during a break? You have a question? Yes, I'm gonna force you to give me some sort of question, because you're the only one with your hand up a little bit. You too, you have to ask some sort of question. I saw your hand up somewhere.
I will ask a question, because what's the question you asked me? When you talk about this.
Sorry?
Okay, so that's my question.
Okay, you're gonna ask together. Networking, great.
No, when you talk about the system, you say when you run your business, you have to make a system that you can go out and people's system will run by itself. So
yes. What do I mean by that?
Yes.
That's a very, very good question. The easiest answer is reading something like 4-Hour Workweek. It spells it out very, very clearly. All of you, I highly recommend. I think at the end of this, there's suggested readings. One is time management. Learn how to manage your time, because you can have a million things you need to do. You need to prioritize that. And 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, or Stephen Covey, is very good at that. A better book is First Things First. But for answering your question, learn how to outsource, learn how to work online, learn how to get things made into a system so that you don't really spend any money until you know there's money coming in. And 4-Hour Workweek is one of many different sources that talk about it. It's a small book, it's like a comic book that's made by Timothy Ferriss. You can probably get a lot of information online. I can give you a lot of information. For example, if you want to make this product and sell this product, well, let's say you're going to have gold labeling going on it, and it's going to be extra nice. And maybe it's going to be a, I don't know, some sort of titanium can that's very special, and you only want it for the executives or something. Well, before you actually spend the money to make it, you can start very easily surveying people online and make up a website for almost free nowadays and find out who's interested in buying this. And people, you know, if you want more information or if you want to buy, you know, click here. Find out how many people are clicking. And then ask them, how much would you pay? And they will tell you how much they're going to buy or how much they'll pay automatically. And if you get enough people doing it, you say, would you like to provide it? We don't have anything for you right now, but if you provide a deposit, I will give it to you. And that, be very careful, because some countries, if you take money for selling something before you have it, it's illegal. But other places, if they're just going to give you money and know that you don't have it now, but you're going to give it to them later, that's okay. They could give you the money to start your business. And then you can just outsource it and make it made in China or Mongolia or anywhere. And that's a system. So you just think of that system and you can automate that so the internet manages everything. As soon as an order comes in, then that order gets sent to the factory to be made, and the factory sends it to your customer. And you don't actually have to work. The money just keeps coming. That's what I mean by system. Everybody should be comfortable with technology and working online, especially because we are the most wired country in the world. You have a question, or?
Sure.
Okay.
Earlier you said you
I
had to
think
fire
I
that.
know you. Did I see you before?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've listened to your lectures before.
Okay.
Anyways, earlier you said you had to fire that $5,000 per month employee.
Yes.
I've heard that getting rid of employees can be difficult.
It could be, but as an entrepreneur, you should always be thinking of solutions to every problem. A solution is, you're starting for the 6 months on probation. You don't match our culture? You know, thank you for working for their trial period. You know, keep applying. Maybe next year you'll be able to be successful in the next trial period. But yes, thanks, but you're done. Your interview phase of the probation is finished.
So that's how you're able to do it?
That's one way to do it. There's many solutions.
In Korea, it's
Of course, if you're talking to a lawyer might tell you, no, you can't do it. And of course, the lawyer might be marketing himself so that he gets money from you talking to him. But me, as an entrepreneur, there's always a solution to something.
Is it 6 months in Korea, the experience time?
Law in Korea has been around forever. It was created by the rulers for the ruled, in my opinion. Anybody want to unplug that for a little while? And some people say it might not have been created for a country like Canada, where everybody's supposed to be focused on equality. Because here it was focused on hierarchy. You did not have equality. There was somebody that was your boss, or older, your superior, and somebody under you. And what was good was that people follow without complaining in harmony. So, and it was also very verbal initially. Things are changing, and there's a lot of things online and in paper and written down. For example, prostitution is illegal in Korea, but some people say it's still accepted. Maybe not. This is just a guess. Like, you understand what I'm saying, right? So, be an entrepreneur and you can figure these things out. Yes, when you talk to a lawyer, and you can talk to a lawyer for free in the Seoul Global Center, they should be able to answer those things in 1 second. Yes, it is halftime. I'll open the door in case anybody wants to get up and cool down and go for a break. If you guys do want to keep asking questions, great. I'm going to keep talking. I'm not going to take much of a break for another hour and a half. Yes?
Yeah, you said that one of the ways to get information from competitors or get more information about the business is to watch your competitor, sit down and watch. But there's, to be honest, I don't think that would be always the situation, because I know there's a lot of the Korean people, they're not very open to,
Right.
They don't want you to open up
Right.
a shop.
For example, consultants.
Exactly, consultant restaurants. And so, is there like an online or a national wholesale like information? Like, I'm going to be setting up actually a restaurant.
Okay.
And so, in terms of like finding like wholesale supplies, ingredients, food, alcohol at a wholesale prices, are there like government organizations or information, or is there national information where I can get that information? Because I found some areas, and then some areas that actually does wholesale for business.
It's the last page, almost the last page of the presentation. There's a whole bunch of context for this information. I hope that answers your question. The best place to start is Seoul Global Center. I wrote books for them, teaching some of those details. For example, you're talking about some sort of food products or something. Korean Tourism Organization, I was shocked to find out, is a great source. If you can't find something, they supposedly have a policy where you just tell them you want to start a business, you can't find it, and supposedly they have to get it for you. And it's run by an international entrepreneur also, a German guy.
I found some places that they said, unless you have a business license or business number, we can't help you. I mean, it was like really that close.
There's a lot of, like I said, with some government, and some, not government, some organizations, people are not the owners of the business, they don't care about doing their job, they're just trying to get to the end of the day and go party. If they can tell you an answer to get you to shut up and go away, they will. So understand first as an entrepreneur, what motivates everybody? What is that person's job? What is he supposed to do? And what would he benefit in, that I would benefit in? And try to find a discussion so that you mutually benefit.
What would be the one the best one for food and drug?
For food, Korean tourism. Korean tourism provides food and a list of the food, and they'll tell you where the food is. I don't even know if it's here, but KTO online, Korean Tourism Organization. Talk to Seoul Global. Sorry, the best thing I hear, Seoul Global Center in High Korea. Where we are right now, this center will have people that would introduce you to that. Thank you. Sorry for taking it away from you. Again, if anybody wants to take a look at the serious business planning book with the details, or one of the books that I think is one of the best books, you're welcome to take a look at these.
Have you ever used the entrepreneurship in the 21st century?
Nope, haven't used that in any of my classes. I have many books in my office that I use material from, but that hasn't been looked at. It sounds like most entrepreneurship books basically have the same idea. Okay. I have business plans from students in my class this year that won business plans locally. The Korean government gave them awards. The Korean government actually paid for them to go to Turkey to international business competitions with Columbia University students and MIT students, and they actually placed in top ranking. I think regardless of the textbook, the more important thing is just to think of the top 100 things, answer them, make sure those are the main reasonable things, and as soon as you've got those, start, period. Thank you. If you could, do you have an in-card?
I could just straight to
Great, I'll be here Tuesday's class.
Actually, it's Monday.
Monday, is it?
Yeah.
Thank you for telling me when I have to work.
We'll be here Monday. It's like, oh, he's not Scott. John?
Monday, yes, July 2nd. Right, okay. Thank you very much. Unfortunately, I don't. Sorry. Thanks a lot. Any other special questions before we? Yes.
I just wonder, I always heard you're not supposed to share your business idea.
Okay.
Can I just for like an invention, or maybe just be, don't go in string details?
It is true that we are in a competitive environment. Everybody wants a good idea. The business plan that I was just talking to you about, the business competition, that winner was making basically like an online game. The judge of the competition, they got everybody to show up for free, was an online game company owner. So obviously he could have stolen the information. So yes, you are at risk all the time. But I think the pros, the advantages outweigh the negatives. If you're paranoid of your shadow, you will never start, you will never be successful. If you're greedy, trying to keep everything to yourself, you will not be successful. If you are generous, you will be. These people are all somewhat interested in entrepreneurship for some reason. you are too, you have some connection. So start sharing your idea with these people, and somehow you might find somebody that will teach you something. If you don't show them your details, they can't teach you and give you any context. Like she just gave me one contact. I definitely promote being open as much as possible, especially in Korea where networking is super, super important.
There are chances of someone being as motivated as you are about that
Exactly.
idea, or like this
Sure.
case, but the chances they're going to know somebody that you should
Usually,
so that they can.
even though we
It's not for me.
really good
I'm not.
business plan,
I just have like
I
people doing
think
the same
most
education
people have
thing.
problem with the
People who like feel
execution
like that they
of
never
plan.
actually start their business
Sometimes
because they don't have
a
anything that they
plan,
need. They don't have
not the
connection.
real execution. So
Yes?
can you give advice on that? Should we like make a new business plan like yearly or?
The basic idea is to manage everything, period. And like I say, it's not a crazy science. You're looking at what are the top 100 reasonable questions. Not every question, what are the most important questions? And as soon as something else that's very important comes up, you should be answering that. But if you need to change your details, the business plan should always change. Every day it's going to change. But the basic concept should be the same. For those of you that, some of you I've shown one business plan, here's another business plan for people that have attended a lecture of mine. I think this is also a very good idea. I have several different business plans. Most of them I won't share because they're worried about their information being confidential. I've already talked to these people and they're happy to let other people know what's going on. Anybody wants to take a look at that? You can take a look at it and pass it on.
How do we find out about your seminars?
The one slide that I didn't do properly, my contact details are almost on all the slides, like you guys should do. You guys should have name cards or some ways to promote yourself all the time. Send me an email, and I will try to help. But I apologize now. Right after our next meeting, I'm going to some meetings in Hawaii, and then I'm going to meetings in the States, in other parts of the States, and then Canada. I will be away from Korea basically till mid-August. But as some of you saw, I do encourage you to stay in touch with me, and I will try to introduce students. For example, most students don't start new businesses, but in my class they have to. So I'll try to introduce you to students that will help you. And 90% chance they won't steal your business idea.
Are they undergrad or grad?
I have both. I was actually supposed to show up tonight with one of my graduate students, which is a senior government official from Mongolia that's here to learn entrepreneurship from Korea, how Korea grew so fast, so he can go back and teach entrepreneurs in Mongolia how to grow their country so fast. So, and he's much older than I am. So some of them are young, stupid shits, and some of them are much older than I am, stupid shits too. Obviously, Yonsei University, most of them are very talented people.
What are the majors?
Business.
Business.
Entrepreneurship, that's my focus. I'm the chair of Management and Economics Department. I teach Asian management and entrepreneurship. That's basically all I teach. Next semester, all international law. Sorry?
So someone have the present, please?
Present?
This was a dentist.
Yes.
Have you ever seen the work consultant? You got.
Any other questions before we start our class again?
Sean, what university?
No. I am now considered Korean, so it is funny. But for a non-Korean, you generally have to have, now, last year it was different, now you need to have 100 million won from the start. that's another. Sorry. I think I told you guys to unplug the camera. I could have given you a better answer, but you're supposed to have 100 million won to start a business. I want to talk after this pass the hallway. I'll always bang on that. But yes, you can change, once you register your business, you have this vested license, your immigration approved. You should be able to change details on that. No problem.
I want to pay
Korean government guys will come in and they'll talk about that, and there'll be lawyers that should talk about that here. There's the lawyer coming in. You'll see when they're supposed to go. Yes.
If we were a company, we want to hire like a foreigner.
Yes.
And we need to sponsor them a visa. Is that a very difficult process, or is it?
We're entrepreneurs here. You see me biting my tongue. That is a hint, guys, especially for guys in that corner. Until you guys become more entrepreneurial and proactive, my answer will be, for a non-Korean to work legally in Korea, you need a work visa. To get a work visa, generally you need 100 million won, and you will start as an investor, period. Otherwise,
I'm sorry.
if you want to hire a foreigner,
who needs a visa?
you generally, it's very hard to do that. You need to prove a Korean person can't do it, which is very hard. So the only way around it generally is to hire somebody that's a student, that's allowed to work, or married to a Korean, or is also on a working holiday visa, which is able to work almost anywhere, or somebody that is able to use your investment funds to work with you, basically like a partner. Somebody you loan money to. Anybody got a radio that you want to like play over in that corner in front of that camera, and I'll expand on it. We'll probably turn this off closer to the end. Remind me about that in the investment details. I'll talk to you about that later. Any other questions?
Sure, what universities did you say you teach at?
I teach at Yonsei University. Before Yonsei, I was teaching at several. Sorbonne University, Sukbum University, Hanyang University, a variety of universities, York University in Canada. Faculty can go back and forth, giving lectures everywhere.
Have you ever been to Craftworks? The pub
Yeah,
in-
I love it. Great.
They have a lot
Cool
of
Scotch.
young Westerners working behind the bar there.
Mhm.
How do they do that? Legally.
Students.
They're students.
Universities, almost all universities are really trying to become international. And to do that, they need a lot of international faces. A lot of times, all of you, one way I can help you is by, if you have any of your kids that you worry about paying tuition, I can give them free tuition to study Yonsei. I can give them a free degree, scholarships. So universities are definitely trying to get international people into their programs. If you're interested, if you know somebody back in your home country that wants to go to Yonsei University, send me a detail. Once they're here and they've worked basically, or they've studied then generally seriously, or 3 months work, then they're allowed to work anywhere anyway.
How many hours at the maximum amount, or they're allowed to work as much as they like?
As an entrepreneur, that doesn't really matter, right? Because if there is a maximum you're allowed, then you can say that's the maximum they're supposed to be working. A lot of people might be very strict accountants or lawyers saying this is black, this is white, you can't do anything else. Those people might have some challenges being an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurs should see, here's a solution to this situation, you should be able to make do with it. So if you understand what I said, you could have that student work the maximum number of hours legally and then say, okay, I just really appreciate it if you worked more, or if you volunteered beyond that when we're busy, and it might help with our bonuses at the end of the year, for example. That might be a legal way to deal with it. Entrepreneurs should be able to find solutions to everything. The more you, at the beginning, it might be very hard to do that, but think of it as a game. Every day, think of how can I make new money in a new way. The first day will be very hard, but after you do it for a couple of months, it's going to get much easier so that you can come up with ideas all the time. Any other questions before we go back to this? Yes?
I actually just want to make some comment to make it more interactive. Just, I mean, because I'm from Brazil, and,
Okay.
and if you think that Korean law is very archaic and protective, Brazilian
I'm
is
not saying that
way
because if I
more-
said that, that would be illegal,
Okay.
right? I could get thrown in jail for 7 years.
I also didn't say that.
You guys managing the electric cord over
But I'm
there.
saying Brazilian law is like that.
Okay.
And that's my country, I can say that. That meaning that, I don't know, if you have someone just coming to your house, sometimes they are even like, it's very common to have maids in Brazil. Let's say you just have
Same here.
someone over, not, you have to be rich here, not in
No, you
Brazil.
don't. I can get, the average wage here is generally $3-4 an hour legally. And there's,
But
legally
it's
you
too
have to pay that.
expensive compared to Brazil.
Okay.
I mean, to the Brazil I left 4 years ago at least.
Okay.
And anyhow, I mean, if you have someone just coming over and let's say a friend staying at your home and she helped you with something and then that friend is very mean, she can even sue you and say, I was working for her and she's surely gonna
They
get
can
it.
do that in Korea too. If I try to jump to answer your question, I think you're saying, do you have to be careful and can you get sued? Generally, you can
I mean,
get sued
but
in Korea.
because in Brazil,
But in
that's same
Korea,
in the US,
almost
they
nobody
just
sues.
sue for anything and so
That's
the
like
lawyers get a lot
maybe
of
it's the
money.
same way everywhere in North America, in the Americas. Up until a few years ago, there was only a few lawyers in the whole country, and they were so powerful and so rare, they were like gods. And nobody would argue with them because those few rare gods made the rules for the whole ruling of the country. Camera. Anyway, they were very, very powerful, and as long as you had a letter from a lawyer, that was enough to get anybody to do whatever you wanted. And it's generally still the same idea. Most people do not sue.
Yeah.
It is very rare.
Second thing I wanted to ask, I think it would be very useful if we saying like you have to answer many questions. Once you have this question, you can get it on your business. So what are those questions?
Okay.
With your friend who came over to help, the thing is, she couldn't sue anyway because unless she had a working visa to work for you, if she decided to work for you, then she was violating the visa that she entered the country on. So she'd be saying, I committed a criminal offence. So
I'm
she
talking
couldn't sue you.
within Brazil.
Oh yeah, but in
Within
Korea,
Brazil.
if you hire someone,
I mean, but in Korea nobody sues anyone. I mean, you overwork every day. Your boss shout at you, and any of the things would be a very big issue in Brazil. It could get a lot of money, and all
I
people
know-
sue if a company do it.
I know a North American government, the government of North America, I'm not saying which country because that might be defamation too, one of the governments, lawyers, not just a prosecutor, but like the prosecutor's defender lost a basic case here. And it wasn't generally because of the law, it was basically because it was thrown out because it wasn't supposed to be argued. Most people just don't sue. People talk about it, and there's free legal aid societies here. And there's also COLEAD, which is the Korean Legal Education Organization, which represents the Korean Police Department and telling you about some of the laws. There are places to get information, but I still suggest you shouldn't worry too much about getting sued.
Yeah, not in Korea.
Yes?
I heard many stories about cold calling in Korea and how it can or cannot work. Do you have any examples of a successful business that was based on that?
Yeah, me. How's that?
How do you do it?
I first came to Korea in the early 1990s, and we are here. I'm just trying to open up a new sort of updated version for you guys.
Insurance. Insurance is a big industry based on
Sorry, I'm trying to answer the question she said, but what are some of the basic questions to ask? here's a bunch of basic ones. This is just, I changed the first couple of pages. What is your business? A lot of people think, of course, but you'd be surprised. A lot of people forget the most important thing. What exactly is your business? Not the idea of dealing with low mineral content. I mean, I sell beverages, specifically water, that's tap water for free from everybody in the country. I believe you guys know that, right? This is tap water. I hope nobody paid for it over here. It's just, so what exactly is your business? What is your product or service? Very, very specifically so an idiot understands. Because you are experts in the very small details that nobody else cares about. So clarify, who's going to use it? Why should people use your product and service rather than the competitors? How much will you charge in the first year, your sales, your profit, and your assets? Why invest? I hope all of you can answer these questions on Monday within 3 minutes. This is the basics of a business plan. In the book that you have, that executive summary answers almost everything. Try to make the exact same thing as the executive summary that you see in the book. I believe it's the first page of the presentation. If you're going to invest, why should somebody invest? If investors are needed, how much are they going to do? And don't underestimate yourself. I know a guy that invented a new machine. He knew a machine for, I can actually tell you, it's basically, when women have a baby, they make milk for the baby, but usually the breasts hurt. And getting the milk to come out usually hurts. And so they need some sort of extra help. And he knows that there's generally only 3 types of products that can help that. One product might massage it, another product might help bring the milk out, but they're all kind of uncomfortable, they're all big problems. He was able to take all of the other competitive products, put them all together in one device, which is disposable and washable and things like that, and he made his product for peanuts, very, very inexpensively, and now he can sell it. And he was saying he could start his new business, and he expected in 3 years to have more than $600,000 in sales a month, which was reasonable. And I've got the details here, but I'm not supposed to show you all of the details for his plan. I can introduce you to him. He is looking for an investor, but even though his business product is something that is needed and is required, and he's surveyed and he knows there's so many different customers, and he knows people that will sell it for him and will wholesale it for him, he basically has proven he will be successful, showing he's going to make crazy amounts of money. He says he needs basically $50,000 to get that first sample tested, the first prototype. And so he was saying that he would give 80% of all of his business to somebody who gives him $50,000. I smacked him. Don't underestimate yourself. Think about these details like the investor. If it's going to be making $600,000 in a couple of years, don't give everything away for peanuts. For example, you might want to give him only 20% or 30% of the shares of a company. Deal with that. Where are you going to operate? For example, if it's going to be a restaurant business, restaurants have a very, very different cost. If it's on the main street, it's much cheaper. If it's in the basement, it's a lot cheaper. On the second floor, third floor, it's much, much cheaper on the back streets. For example, in Shinchan, in front of Yonsei University where I am, one of the most expensive real estate areas in the country was the old Crown Bakery. Some people were saying they're spending $20,000 a month in rent, even though it's basically this big of an area, just because it's prime real estate. 50 yards back, you could get the same place for $1,000 a month. So make sure you understand these details. Answer these next Monday, and that should help by getting you to think what's required. The presentations should be as short as possible and get to the point as fast as possible. Why? It's not just, I don't want to talk. You will learn a lot because of the other comments. You should all act like investors. And so when she starts talking, you should ask her questions, what about this, what about that? She should be thinking about those questions and put it into her business plan. And as you talk about things, somebody might be able to come to you afterwards and give you suggestions or partner with you. That's why we should be doing it. Any other questions? No? These are a lot of the things to be thinking about. Always have a 30-second summary. always have a name card. I had a conference last weekend, there was 3,000 people attend. I didn't have 3,000 name cards. I'm sorry, it's going to take a little bit longer. There's no excuse. You can name cards made in like 30 minutes in Seoul. The best place to make them is Ulchiro. You can get name cards, I think 500 name cards made for like $2 or $4. Crazy, crazy cheap. You can get one paper like this, basically I think 6,000 papers, like advertisements, so you can put up anywhere. 6,000 of them, a big box for also 30 or 40,000 won. Or if you want to cut it in half, then you have double that for the same price. Ulchiro, right outside the subway station, there's hundreds of different print shops. Make name cards immediately. Make sure you understand the other person doesn't know who you are. So if you have a name like this, good. Other companies that don't know what that means would be wasting millions of dollars and millions of hours of energy because people don't know what your company means. So make sure your name card tells people what you're doing. I believe that more advertising is better. But there is a rule, and I'll go through the rule later on. You should have your advertising so 80% catches their image, Pareto's law, 80% catches their image, and 20% is the fine print of the details. If they want, they can check it out. So the name card is the same thing. We've already gone through this. I'm going to jump through it. Tips, show references all the time. Nobody knows who you are. Nobody cares who you are. Especially in Korea, a lot of people like Samsung. A lot of people like Hyundai. They like these big, huge corporations because they are Korea. That's what makes Korea. I love Korea. Uri nara all the time. 대한민국. So they want to be Korea, and they think Samsung is Korea. So they might not want to work for your company as much. They might not want to buy your products as much as these other Urinara countries. Sorry, if you understand what it means, that means it's our country. Some people will like the bigger name brands. And since you don't have a name brand when you start, you need references. So when you're starting your business plan, show stats. Show, for example, you're getting it from the Canadian government. Who wants to argue with me that Statistics Canada sucks? You know, if you do, I want to spend more time with you because you're probably drunk. And you're probably a fun person. But having facts are hard to argue with, and they will help market you. And at the same time, as soon as you start promoting somebody else, that person will probably try to promote you at the same time. So reference what you're working with. Make sure it's good references. Show the contact details all the time. Exact businesses and exact product services I already talked about. Assume others do not know your business. Teach people the basics. Then during discussions, ask if the listeners understand. I hope you've recognized I've asked quite a few questions here. Show detailed competitive advantage to benefit customers. But in your business plan, you might not want to show the competitors' names because, as you said, some people might steal your idea and it might be a customer. A customer you don't want to tell people you can go and get it from somebody else. You can just have company A as a competitor. If it's an investor, for example, they might want the actual details, and for an investor, you can give them company A equals Starbucks or whatever it is. That's, again, it's all just reasonable things. Be reasonable. There's no real science to it, except be as proactive as you can, act as fast as you can. Show benefits too in the materials for the investors, the financials, the facts for the sport, market analysis, such as the target customer analysis. I already started to talk about that. A lot of people think, especially in my MBA classes, that we need to have 4 Ps in SWOT analysis. And if you don't know what they are, good, forget about them. They suck. Notice I'm not defaming any person. I'm defaming some other thing that is in almost all textbooks. SWOT stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And a lot of people will make a business plan and they'll say, yes, I need to do a SWOT analysis. So I'll say, this is a strength, this is a weakness, this is opportunities, threats. It doesn't do anything unless you find out what is the action you can do to take advantage of your strengths. And find also reasonable, what are the strengths of all your competitors? all of the strengths related to you, and all of the weaknesses related to you. And what are the actions you're going to do for each of them? If you have a weakness, what are you going to do to fix that weakness? If your competitor has a weakness, what are you going to do to fix that? To use that to your advantage. So that is the only purpose for a SWOT analysis. It is not to simply say this is a strength, weakness, opportunity, and threat. Same thing with the 4 Ps. 4 Ps is just a fancy way to say who, what, where, when, why, related to your business. It's every reasonable, sorry, that's wrong. It's not every question, it's every reasonable question. For example, 100 main reasonable questions are reasonable. Whatever is reasonable, you have the answers for them, start. There's always going to be something you don't know, but if you've got 100, that's a lot. It's hard to ask 100 questions. These are the basics. Of course, the financials. Some people say, well, we don't know about financials. I'm not an accountant. I never studied this stuff. There is some basics. For example, almost all manufacturing, if I'm going to make water and sell it, generally the sales is always going to be the same. It's 100%. The costs of selling it is getting it and selling it. The costs of getting it is generally always 80%. Your sales and your sales or marketing costs generally 7.5%. General administration 5%. Interest expense 2.5. Taxes at 30% based on 1.5. Net income. This is a general sample. So you can start with this thing that applies for almost everything. And then again, I hope you have heard maybe what I said directly or indirectly. We are moving towards the online world. We're moving towards internet. You should be able to work with cost of services sold. That's generally the best. And if you have a business system that you can make, maybe you'll make the website by somebody in Bangalore, the world's software capital of the world, for the lowest price in India for very, very cheap. Maybe you can get a website made for $50. And managed every month for a very, very low amount, $3 or $2 by a PhD person in India. I have one of the world's best business school professors working for me for $4 an hour. He has a PhD and a postdoc. He is as highly educated as possible with the best education teaching this and researching as possible, working for me for $4 an hour. You should be able to do this stuff too. You can find this information online. So moving from cost of goods, getting into cost of services. All of you, I suggest cost of services would be good, especially in Korea. Getting information from the people around you, these people. Seoul Global Center, there's free help here. Of course, be prepared when you go there. Because if you're not prepared and you just sit down and say, well, I don't know, what do you think I can do? And they're just going to say, well, nice tie, blah, 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 blah. Sorry, my hour is up. Here's my name card. Come talk to me in my office. As soon as you get to the office, it's $500 an hour. So be prepared, just like a regular entrepreneur should be. Again, show references and use the customer's language all the time. I am from North America. A lot of people say English is the international language. Well, 99% of all people in Korea, your customers, are probably going to be Korean. So your advertisements might want to look for that type of thing. It doesn't matter who you are. This is from many, many surveys. It doesn't matter the number of years you worked to be a successful entrepreneur. 34% never worked before. What type of company did you work in before you started? Working for a large firm or not? You should be able to see things like, here are small businesses. 60% of all entrepreneurs worked for a small business before. What does that show you? Most people are not stupid, like really stupid. Well, yeah, maybe a lot of people are stupid, but most people can learn the basics. And if you see something good going on, like my company is a good idea, these people that are working for them start their own business. So it's another example showing you should be your own boss. It doesn't matter what your education is. I've got lots of graduate experience. I used to have nuclear medicine graduate degrees. It doesn't make a difference. The reality is just start thinking like an entrepreneur, solving problems, and you will get very good at it. Gone through this. This is a list of information. Somewhere over here, I have, if anybody cares, somebody asked me, what are the main questions you can answer? I have that file. Here is an example of a bunch of questions. Related to your business profile, describe your business clearly. Is this in your
Yes.
Is there? Good. So here is the main list of questions. This is more than 100 questions. If you can answer most of these questions, start your business. But make sure your answers are reasonable, so check it with somebody else. A lot of these questions you might not be able to answer, but start talking about them and you will learn the answers. So as soon as you can answer this, you should start your business. The sooner, the better. My third MBA was an international executive MBA, and I studied with a guy that was pretty good. He was saying that his biggest challenge, what he thought was the hardest thing to be successful in the world, is going too slow. His biggest problem, the thing that hurt his business the most, was going too slow. He actually bought something like 8 companies around the world a minute. His name is John Chambers, Cisco Systems CEO. So if the most successful companies in the world state honestly, when nobody else is recording them, that his biggest problem is going too slow, you guys should take a hint too. Don't think about starting a business, do it. A lot of people usually fail your first time, and usually you fail, and like those stories will say, because you didn't have the business plan, you haven't answered these basic questions. But usually you fail once, and you are almost automatically successful the rest of the time. So definitely start. Here's just to highlight it. It's an expanded version of the same thing that's in there. You can read these details later. Business profile, marketing plan, details about the sales plan. Think, again, that last thing, definitely think mutual benefit. A lot of people forget that. A lot of people think I'm in money, yeah, exactly, I'm in money. I'm in business to make money. That is the fastest way to failure. You have to manage the money. But as soon as you start getting greedy, customers are going to know that. For example, if you have a restaurant, give a little, if you're charging $10 for a plate, and you're selling pasta, or almost anything else in Korea with rice, how much does it cost to give a little more, to give this much more rice? It costs nothing. Be generous, and people will see they're getting a good value. Automatically, you'll start to have a bitter, unless they're some sort of gourmet and they only want to see half of a carrot that's this big, most people will appreciate you being generous. So think mutual benefit, and the chances are, in my 20 years experience, you're much more successful than the people that worry about paranoia and getting the most money and trying to just get rich. Here's an example of my business, one of the businesses that I started in Korea. There's one problem with this slide. In general, it should be following the 80-20 rule. When you're advertising, you can make this for free. Photo Bucket is it's a website. Almost all of these, you can just go to Google search and you can find these online. Korea Herald, you can advertise in most of these places for free. You're going to sell water, you're going to sell consulting services. You can make some sort of comment and put them in most of these places for free to advertise for free. You can make this picture generally for free. So write down these, know these things. All of these are advertising places except this. This is a place where you can take a picture with your camera, turn it around. That's another thing where I didn't turn my phone off on purpose. And it keeps scaring me because I should have it turned off. I don't want it to vibrate and stuff. When you take a picture on your camera or whatever, the old-fashioned people know that you can download that and do something with it. But you can upload it into this website, and this website very easily will let you make this. The other reason why I have my phone on is because almost all phones nowadays can video something, which is good sometimes. But why is it good? Because you should have somebody tape record you Monday. Why? You're promoting your business. Take the video of it, turn it around, and automatically YouTube it. So you have the world, anybody that's looking for you can start buying something from you or contacting you, and you'll see if customers are interested. That's advertising. Start using the technology. I didn't put YouTube here. It should be. You must know it. Does anybody not know how to make a YouTube video? Easiest way to do it is on a phone. Go to the YouTube channel, and there will be you need to sign in, be a user, which is very easy to do, and then there's just a picture of the tape recording machine. Push it, and you will tape record on your machine, and then it'll have a button saying, do you want to make it into a YouTube video? Do you want to make it private or not? and just say yes, and all of a sudden you have a YouTube video. It's very, very easy. Now that I'm finished, I'll turn my phone off. Another problem with this is what? Maybe you should understand, because we're 90% in Korea, you should have Korean language here. The basics are in Korean. But English attracts people. That's not the problem. It's good to have Korean language. It's good to have some sort of sexy lady attracting people, and the food, and the fancy beer for good prices. That's attracting people. But what is bad is, I spent so much time hiring that 5 million won worker, and 10 million won worker, and $5 worker, and then firing them and replacing them, where they just simply quit and they don't show up. That all of your advertisements, especially if it's a retail type business like a bar or a restaurant, they should have a help wanted. We're hiring now. Email this. All other ads after this were made this way. This guy obviously made this ad for me for free. And he worked the bar for free. Why? He was a university student. He's from the States. This is his family logo. It's not a country sign. He was just wanting to do it to get close to girls and get free drinks. So again, money is not the best thing in the world. Find out what motivates people. Be generous. The fact that he was able to put this up, and he put it up everywhere because he's promoting himself. Of course, if they like that, let them do it. Find out what motivates them and work together. Mutual benefit. The world is really cool sometimes once you know how things work. This is good. Does anybody know what this is? Remember, we have a video on. We're not allowed to say anything bad. We're not allowed defaming anybody. I'm just asking very simple questions. Does anybody know what they're selling here? Okay, I think that means no. Does anybody have even a guess at what they might be selling here?
Is it a nightclub? No?
No, it's not. No.
Aftershave.
Like man hiking.
No.
Condoms.
Last September, when I offered this course last September, one of the students, when I was asking this question, it's really, really cool, and I'm surprised, no, you're not tape recording this, you're not tape recording. Maybe he's tape recording it, good for you. You've got a computer, I don't know if you broke it or not, but if you're tape recording it, cool. For the rest of you, learn to use technology. Last September when I offered this class, somebody simply, took a picture of this and used an app to say, what is this? And it found out it was a company, a software company in Italy promoting itself. But even then, even though he knew it, he didn't know what kind of software, what exactly they're doing. So make sure your advertisements, again, SRC. Learn what is SRC. It's mentioned later in the book, later in the presentation. Self-reliance criterion. What it's talking about is yourself is, relying only on yourself is criterion for failure. Especially you guys, because you're not Korean. You don't think like Korean. You don't know what they value. You don't know what they think is good and they think is bad. So you must test yourself. And you think this is good, but nobody else does. Get some sort of example and find out, do people understand what it is? Would you buy it? This is generally, in all of the textbooks and business cases, they say this is the best type of advertising you can get. Why is it the best type of advertising? Because it follows 80-20 rule. You've got more than 80% of the image catching their eye, but everything is related to basically smells. Smell or liquid is like a wave, or sparkling smells, or sparkling water and waves. Everything is promoting this concept. And it's the most elegant you can get. It's the most expensive you can get. It is this. The contacts are here. Make sure you understand. This is good advertising. This also will attract you, but even though I am a marketing professor, I didn't know what they're selling. I didn't know they're selling shoes for a long time. So sometimes if you just have a sexy naked girl holding your product, it might catch the eye of somebody, but they're not going to be looking at your product. make sure your product is what is being promoted. Don't forget, your business introductions start with introducing your business, then your product, then what are the main benefits. And then survey people to find out. I'm going to jump through all of the rest of my papers and presentations very, very quickly. With marketing, the bottom line is getting somebody's attention, getting the ah factor. What makes the person you want go ah, or oh, or me too? For example, if you were all Korean in a different country, all you need to do is say kimchi. And all Koreans would probably, what? Where? So that word should be in your marketing. Do you understand? That word, it's not important anything. The only thing that's important is it got people to look here. So find out what makes your target customers look there or go ah or Find out, maybe it's a word, maybe it's a smell, maybe it's a picture. Find out what it is and keep that the basics of your marketing forever. Almost never change it. You can put out, like I said, 6,000 of these very cheap. You can throw them away because while they're on the street, they're still useful for promoting in some ways. But, sorry, that is illegal too. You're not supposed to do that. If your customers are allowed to take your flyers for a discount and put them up somewhere, and if they post them or staple them on a tree on a sidewalk, you can't be charged because you didn't do it. But if somebody catches you doing it, that's illegal. You know some of those basics. The basics is, while you're promoting yourself, make sure other people understand what you're doing. Use the ah factors, the factors, the me too factors, and keep it the same, because after you have 100 of these every day, people will not realize there's like 5,000 advertisements in front of us right here. Advertisements for Intel, advertisements for Windows, advertisements for Samsung, advertisements for Logitech, right here. There's thousands of advertisements around us everywhere. So we don't notice even these big ads. So it generally takes 3 months of putting these ads up everywhere. After 3 months of having it in front of your face every day, then people start to actually connect to it. So if you do it for a week and then change your picture or change the main marketing, you got to start all over again because people haven't absorbed it. So find that main thing that impacts your customer and keep it the same. You can change some of the details like the color and small shapes and stuff, but keep the main things the same. Be smart. Sex might not be very good for selling kids candies. Oh, sorry, this isn't sex, this is a lighthouse. Silly me. When you're advertising, of course, you might want to watch where you're doing it. McDonald's and childhood obesity might not be the right place to advertise. This is very important for you guys. I think none of you are Korean. And if you are not Korean, there's a huge chance you're going to think of some sort of marketing phrase that you love. But I guess 70 to 80% of people in Korea have no idea what it means, even if you translate it. So you're going to come up with an advertising slogan or advertising words and translate it, but nobody's going to care or understand it. So check people understand it. These are some of the world's biggest companies. Morning latte means hard-on erection in some countries. You don't want to start selling, do you want a hard penis to somebody in the morning? Yeah, I do. This, in some countries, having a picture of what is inside is required by law. So in some countries it's required that this is actually a baby cut up inside the bottle. Obviously that's going to hurt the sales of these products. This happened actually in Korea. When I first came here 20 years ago, there was a bunch of these educational companies that were giving away these body bags. These educational companies, what were they actually selling? They were taking parents, children, and sending them to North America with a free body bag. It didn't actually work, because in North America, a body bag is what you put dead people in. And Korean people are paranoid about crime and getting killed in North America already. As soon as you give them something that's going to be associated with death, goodbye business. There's a whole bunch of examples like this. Make sure that as a bare minimum, take your idea, translate it into Korean, and then get a different stranger to translate it back into your language and see if it's the same. But then, get 10 different Korean people to find out what does that Korean meaning mean to them. Because it doesn't matter what it means to you. Again, 80-20, focus on these. Of course, there's a bunch of these. Focus on the awe factor. Do it for at least 3 months over and over again. Here's personal selling tips. I believe all of this is already in your book, so I'm not going to take too much time going through it. This is again, all of the details. This is just the actual business plan questions. I'm going to jump down to this. This is SRC. I believe this is in your papers, right? It's close to the back, close to the end of the presentation. Almost everybody has this problem. You rely on yourself. Understand it. I'm saying it. You have it written down, but I would bet $100 most of you will still not understand the impact of it until at least you really start your business. Because after you start your business and you start seeing that the customers aren't responding to you or your advertising isn't working, then you will start to see this. Or have your mentors, have local mentors. Like one of the best guys I know of was Jeffrey Jones and Alan Timblick. They used to run this organization. Alan Timblick just changed recently. So now he does have more time to advise you guys and mentor you guys. Get good mentors and advisors to help you with these type of things. Because almost all people in the world, they know their culture or company, and they know that there's others, but they think their way is the best. What's wrong? Your way of doing things, your culture is not better than any other culture. That's what Hitler said, and he was killed. You should start to realize the Korean way might be misunderstood by you, but obviously it can't be bad because it helped grow a country faster than any other country in the world. And there's 30 million people in the size of a pin with almost no theft and almost no big crime compared to most other countries. Like I'm from Canada, and even compared to Safe Canada, it's much safer here. I was going to pay staff. I had $6 million in a briefcase. It fell out on an intersection. I couldn't go back and pick it up. I didn't know it fell out at an intersection. I got to my work to pay people. I realized I lost $6,000 or $6 million. 2 hours later, somebody gave me every bill. That's crazy, very, very safe. So it might be unknown to you and you might not understand it, but find out why it's important. Ready for this? What did you see there? Okay? Which ones go together? These ones or these ones? Some cultures in the East or West, some cultures think eating, doing, is the first thing they always think about. Other cultures only see being. Animals are the same, so these go together. It's not right or wrong, it's just different ways of thinking things. You might think your culture is good, but you were taught in a certain way. It's not good, there's no right or wrong answer which ones go together. It's people think different. Same thing here. Here's a balloon, all of a sudden it starts moving like crazy. Ask people why. Some people will say because a wind came and the environment changed. Other people will say it's individualistic because the string broke or it got a hole in it. It's not right or wrong, just people think differently. Understand that when you're planning your business. Here, you see this? Now, I'm only going to show it to you for a second, and then I'm going to stop. Here, are they the same? Is the man in the middle the same or different?
So people in the background change.
Most people in Korea say different because they look at the environment and these people in the background changed. You didn't answer my question, whoever said it. I asked this. So, yes, this guy did not change, but Western people see this. Eastern people see something completely different. It's really, really interesting. Understand that. We are strangers in a new land, not just strange, understand what makes it good. That's the, here is the last thing I should tell you guys about. It's just related to the Seoul Global Center. As you said, it's hard to get market research. It's hard to get the facts. Network. Understand the Chinese word of guangxi, which means working with other people, social capital. Einstein would be nobody if he didn't work with other people. If other people didn't teach him something, if he didn't have other people promoting him, he would be nothing. There is facts showing Einstein was about half as smart as a man living in the United States today. There's a man living that has a much higher IQ than Einstein, but because he can't interact with other people, he's perfectly healthy physically. He just can't talk to other people because he's so smart. He knows what the other idiots say before they even say it, so he can't talk to them. And so he's a very poor farmer. He's basically homeless. He's making just enough money to survive. Learn to work with other people. Brains and education are not important. It's the ability to work with others that is most important. And so work with the Global Center. They have a lot of information. This is an example of working with embassies. Embassies give you all of this information. The old way is, this is my true life story. I was helping companies go selling something from Canada to a sales conference in Singapore. The first time I was consulting the executives in North America, Canada's largest industrial company, and they required, do I actually say it here? No, I didn't say it. They required many top executives to go, which means business class seats for some people, then lower class sales and marketing people, they could go and they had to pay for their airfare, plus the hotels, plus they had to pay for a huge conference table booth that would cost thousands of dollars, plus thousands of dollars to ship these posters over and stuff. They ended up spending $61,000 to go to a conference. They hoped to get this, they got zero. The new way is talking with the embassies in any country you want to work with, telling the embassy, this is what I'm doing, I'm interested in expanding in your area, period. They will give you a list of customers. They'll give you a list of potential joint venture partners. They'll give you a list of distributors. They'll tell you what the legal requirements are. They'll tell you all of this detail. They will find the conferences in the other countries. So what I did is I talked to embassy people in Japan, in Seoul, in Beijing, in Shanghai, in Thailand. I went over to a conference in Delhi. I went to another one in Jakarta and back. The whole trip, all of it was planned with at least 25 sales discussions, contracts being discussed. Even before I got there, set up by the embassy people. Some of the embassy people sucked, I'll be honest. Some of the embassy people met me at the airport, drove me to the embassy, introduced me to a room just like this with Canadian ice wine and smoked salmon they gave for free, plus my marketing material they printed at their cost and brought in a whole bunch of customers for me to wine and dine. I was only in the country for half a day. After I gave the presentation, collected everybody's name cards and started handing out some marketing material and contracts, they drove me back to the airport. Cost me nothing. I ended up coming back with $80 million in contracts we were negotiating. We actually signed $21 million. And it was because they found where the customers were and how to work in each area. They promote you. Here's how. Virtual trade commissioners. For example, this is an example of the Canadian one, and Canada's, yeah, big by area, but there's almost nobody there. But still, they have people that will promote you in many different countries all at the same time. And this will be one person that is considered your staff overall, and they will manage people in this country. You'll have a different staff in China. You can have a different staff in the consulate in Shanghai in China. And they'll all introduce you to the trade shows and stuff for free. So make sure you use this information. Staffing. My time is up. I should stop. You should not be thinking like this anymore. You should be thinking your time is worth much more than $1,000 an hour. Especially when you're an entrepreneur and you can move things back and forth easily. Time to go. Make sure you understand your time is very, very valuable. Start your business as soon as possible. Learn to delegate, learn to outsource. Start as soon as possible. The Statistics Canada says you have a 90% chance of success. Please start. finish saying, related to the information, he should get almost all of the applause. Seoul Global Center is paying for this for you guys, and they have books and pamphlets and experts for you guys. You should give them a good applause.